Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Mars transiting the third house in a natal chart. Now, on average, say if your house size is average, Mars will traverse the house for approximately 2 months. However, if your house size is larger and or Mars is in retrograde motion for any point during that transit, then Mars will be in there for a longer duration. Well, anyway, people, first thing I look at, well, I think the obvious thing that stands out to me is that you may be more assertive and aggressive in your matters with communication at this time. If you're a person that's generally a little bit more passive as far as your communication goes, and maybe you're generally tactful and diplomatic in your communication style, this could be a period where you might speak up a little bit more than usual and really assert yourself as far as communication goes. This might be a period where others might see you to be more verbose than usual, and you might have a stronger ability than usual to articulate things. This is a time where you feel more of that urge to speak out and speak your mind at this point than usual. If this could be a time, well, even if your situation with your neighbors and is generally peaceful and tranquil, it could be a time where it might be a little bit more contentious than usual. A lot of this may be attributed to the fact that you might be being more outspoken than usual, and this might come out through your neighbors. If there's something like, say, loud noise in the community or something with one of your neighbors, for example, it might have been something that you might have brushed off previously or you acted oblivious to, but maybe now is the time where maybe you decide to speak your mind and say enough is enough. So it could be one of those scenarios. Now also, this could apply if you do have any siblings, that even if you have a good rapport with them and good compatibility or what have you, it might be a more acrimonious period with them than usual, and this could be due like the neighbor's situation, maybe more of a propensity to speak your mind than you do ordinarily. And it could be also that maybe their temperament is such at this time where they're a little bit more assertive, they're a little bit more combative and outspoken than usual. Now, Mars can be associated with sports as well, and it's interesting that the third house is associated like with your neighbors and in your siblings. Maybe this is a time where in some cases you might become more involved, maybe playing some recreational sports, say with siblings and or neighbors during this period, and might be more involved with sports with them at this time than usual. This could be a period too where you might really show good communication prowess and really be more verbose than usual and really be able to articulate things very well. If you're a type of person that's generally you're not maybe not very quiet and taciturn, and someone that's not generally loquacious, this might be a period where you might be talking a little bit more than usual. This could give a lot of restlessness and in mind and body. It could be a time where you might have a greater propensity to take maybe a lot of short journeys. You might be going here, going there. If you're more of a type it's like very sedentary or more stagnant, others might be surprised to see maybe your increased mobility in going as far as traveling to different places during this time as opposed to usual. Well, when you have Mars transiting the third house, it could also be a period where you have to be careful, maybe in just your mobility and moving around and being very impulsive. It could be a time, if you're a frequent driver, to be more prudent, because there might be a little greater possibility of having an accident due to recklessness and impulsiveness in connection with short trips, which are often involving you driving. So those are some things to look at. as far as this goes, this transit goes. And also, you might be more inclined to do some work that requires dexterity during this time. It could be something where maybe you're working on vehicles like your own automobile a little bit more than usual, and doing mechanical work as opposed to more mechanical work as opposed to what you ordinarily do. It's also important to be careful with dealing with anything, like if you're working on something with a machine or something that's got any sharp edges, to be extra prudent and careful at this time, because Mars transiting the third house can make one a little bit more impetuous and impatient and more in a hurry and not always paying attention to the fine details, and just to make sure, because there could be more time for accidents due to being in a hurry and being impatient and not being careful during this period than it is ordinarily. So anyway, people, it's also important to look at the sign that Mars is in during this transit, as this could flavor the transit. Now let's say, for example, that Mars is in Leo for either the majority or the whole time of this transit. Now in this example, this could indicate that you may have show a lot of pride and dignity in what you do, and being in the third, this could be connected with communication. Now, let's take another example. Let's say that Mars is transiting Virgo in the third house for either the majority or the whole time of the transit. This could indicate that much energy might be expended where you're being very punctilious with details and doing perhaps laborious work in general. Now, being in the third, this could be matters perhaps doing this maybe with siblings, and or maybe something connected in your general with your neighbors. So anyway, it's also important to look at the aspects that are made from transiting Mars in your third house, the aspects that are made to your natal planets and points from this transit, as this could impact the transit. Now let's say, for example, that transiting Mars is making a square in conjunct or opposition to your natal Neptune. Well, this may indicate that perhaps you may experience difficulty maybe taking direct action during this for this period. It makes that aspect. Now, it could show certain ambivalence and confusion. Now, being in the third, this could be associated with neighbors and matters connected with short journeys and or siblings, perhaps, if you have them. Let's take another example. Let's say that transiting Mars is making a sextile or trine to your natal Pluto. Now, this could be auspicious perhaps for using energy to make a positive change or transformation, and it could also show much drive and tenacity in the process. Now, being in the third, this could be perhaps connected with learning a new subject or perhaps some communication goal. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Mars transiting the third house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Mars transiting the fourth house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.